Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join us for our roundtable webinar in the Zeald webinar series, Keep Calm and Get Digital. My name is Rhonda and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. We appear to have COVID under control and alert level 1 could be just around the corner. We're finding comfort in things slowly returning to normal. However, there is going to be a new normal, with people hesitant to go around in large crowds and everyone needing to support people with social distancing. We have delivered over 17 great and informative webinars so far that give a lot of valuable information to support businesses. Information on how to process online orders through to advanced online marketing know-how. Today, we thought we would gather 3 of our experts to do a roundtable where we ask our questions to a panel of experts. We've had a number of questions submitted, but during the session, you'll be also able to submit questions to the panel directly. So today, our panelists are Jara, Nidhi, and Lisa. Jara is, oh, why did that go do that? Oh, sorry. It's set on some kind of funny setting.
We can always just show our faces this way and say, hi, Rhonda.
Yeah.
There you go.
If I stop that now?
No,
Yeah.
that works. We're back on the right slide.
Okay,
awesome.
Great. Sorry. So yeah, thanks for showing your faces. So Jara is a known expert in the digital space and also in these webinars. I'm just going to stop the share because really it's just about seeing you guys. I'm just going to pop you over to the side so I can still read. Awesome. So Jara is a known expert in the digital space and also in these webinars. So he's often the moderator in these webinars, but today he's going to be one of our experts. So Jara continues to be leading the charge with the ideas and solutions and essentially a way forward for clients in the current times. So Nidhi is an online marketing guru. She lives and breathes marketing and loves analysis of metrics. I've seen Nidhi work her magic firsthand, and it is always a pleasure seeing her passion and enthusiasm for helping businesses transform and to get results online. And Lisa's our third panelist, and she is Zeald's Client Services Manager. Her background is varied from leading large teams to working with small business owners. She's even had a stint in dairy farming. Lisa is an online business expert specialising in designing and implementing business processes. So just some housekeeping. You'll notice down at the bottom of your screen, there's a bit of a toolbar down there. If you can't hear me, on the bottom left, there'll be an area for audio that you can play around with some settings if you need some help there. There is a hand, you can raise your hand, and this is a round table where you could raise your hand, and we can, if you do that and we press it, you actually come on the screen and you can ask your question directly. Otherwise, you're welcome to ask your questions into the Q&A section there on the bottom. There is also a chat part, and the panelists will be answering questions via chat if you have them as well while we're going through today's session. So from what I understand with Zoom, it's hard to see all of us at once, so you'll click backwards and forwards, but I'm sure we'll cope. So we'll just start with some questions that we've already gathered from some of our previous webinar audience. We've got over 20 questions. I'm not sure if we'll get through them all, but please, if you do have questions yourself, if you pop them through, and we'd love to help you as a listener today. So our first question, I thought we'd start off with you, Jara. Why do I need a website for my takeaway shop? So I guess to make that more helpful for our listeners at large, I think it's probably just at the local shop that's not used to trading online or even needing a website at all. So why would they need a website?
It's a great question, because sometimes your instinct is, I just will look after my local community. I may not need this sort of digital presence. A takeaway shop's a really good example though, because it gives you a kind of a communication channel with your customers. So it allows you to publish your menu and your prices and those sort of things straight onto the website, and it allows people to see a live menu. Now, I know myself, traditionally you've got the little leaflet with all the prices on and stuff that you maybe store in a third drawer down, I think it is for a lot of people, in the kitchen, right? But that quickly gets out of date, especially if you're looking to change up the products that you provide, or maybe even the pricing. And so our website is a great platform to give people that information as quickly as possible. And I suppose the biggest tip for it as well is make sure that you've got a clickable phone number on that website as well, so that when people do arrive on the website, they can give you a call to make their order. And so I think from that point of view, it's really important to just make sure that people are aware of what you provide, because people are going through a discovery process online. If we talk about the person buying from you, they're trying to make a decision on what they want for dinner. Right? They may look at several different sources here of information to work out what it is that they're going to order tonight. And so if your website's appealing, it's got pictures of the products that you sell, so that people can see what it looks like, especially if they're buying from you for the first time. That's really important. And then it's got prices, so people can understand what to expect from that as well. Those sort of things are really, really helpful for people when they're going through that discovery process or that decision-making process.
That's right. Thank you, Jara.
I'd also just tie in with the Google My Business as well. So you got your opening hours right in Google.
Yes. Lisa, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think a common thing I see on our Facebook page up where I live, it's a big group, and constantly people are like, well, what takeaways do I go to? Or where should I go? And yes, there's word of mouth there, but if you're someone who's trying to find a takeaway shop, you haven't been there before, you want to be able to find the menu easily online. And I know Jara sort of touched on, if you're new, you want to see the food. So I think that's another key indication. Have people to be able to see your menu, regardless of if they're known to you or if they're brand new. Again, I also live near a beach, and we quite often get a lot of visitors. So how useful would that be, sort of being down at the local park or beach and going, oh, where's the closest takeaway to me? And I can see their menu. I don't actually have to go there to order.
Brilliant. Good points. Thank you, Lisa and Jara. Lisa, just a question for you. Is the website free and easy to use for my business? I'm not a techie person.
Okay.
Probably you get this question a lot, right?
Yes, definitely. And really there is two parts to the question here. So is a website free? Well, yes, you can get free websites. Currently, we're even offering a free website build with what we're doing, our offer. But there's free and then there's free. There's free where it's something that's just quickly knocked together, probably doesn't have the support and the resource behind it to keep it ongoing. And then there's, I guess, free offers from companies that actually do websites long-term, have the support and resource behind it. So, regardless, you would be looking at some cost for a website, whether it's through hosting or through developing it or getting additional features added to it. The second side, I think, is easy for your business to use. So this one is an interesting one. You're not technical, so it might not be. If you don't really like using computers, then you might find it a bit harder to use. But I think the key thing here is to work out who in your team or in your business will need to use it. Is it just you? And then do some research on what platforms, or talk to some people in the area who do websites about what platforms they use and how easy it is for you to be changing things or processing your orders, as an example. Because one thing I often hear from clients is that they've previously had a website where they actually can't change anything. And some of that's probably not quite understanding their needs for it, and then not understanding what actually the platform they're using provides for them. So yeah, always good to obviously look around a little. It's the same if I was going to get a fence built, you kind of go and get 3 quotes, and then you sort of look at what one's going to give you what you want most, and most likely go with that.
Yeah. I'm going to actually ask the whole panel, and we'll go through one at a time what your answers are to this question, because I think this is an interesting. Why is digital marketing important for my business? Can we start with you, Lisa?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I think ultimately for this one, at the end of the day, it's up to you what value you do put on digital marketing. That's something where, you know, you need to decide how important it is. We, of course, know the importance of this because we know where the activity is happening. How often do you go around and you see people just on their phone? And how do you get on that phone and in front of their face? You need to be digital, whether that's online through search engines or through social, that's where you need to be. So you can see it just walking around, you can see it in the community. So I think that's a huge key as to why it's important.
Yes.
And you know, again, we just had a lockdown. What were people doing? Spending time online because that's what entertained them. Yes, it may have not meant that people were getting the sales they wanted at that time either, but they were creating awareness of their brand, of their shop. And so then when things loosened off and people were able to get out again, they were noticing the change in business of more people arriving.
Interesting. Nidhi, what are your thoughts on why is digital marketing important for my business?
I think it's very, very important. Like from the SEO perspective, also, like I have seen that 90% of digital experiences actually starts with a search. So it is kind of a big deal now. And there are billions of people searching every day on Google and Facebook. So it's important to tap those channels, and it's a vital thing now to be on online space and having Facebook pages and all the tapping all the social media channels. So I think it's very, very important for a brand to have that kind of recognition in the market space.
Good point. Jara, do you
So
need the question again?
no, I'm good. So
No, you're
that's a,
good.
why is digital marketing important for my business? I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So look, it plays a critical role, right? And I like the stats that he had as well. Here's another couple for you. 82% of people will research a product or service online before buying it. Right. So that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to go and buy it online. They may walk in store, they may go in and try it on or something like that before they complete their purchase. But at some point during the buying process, 82% of all sales involve some research online. And so if you don't have your products and services in that space and you're not using digital marketing to take advantage of that, you're not reaching those consumers while they're doing their research, and you're potentially missing out on quite a considerable amount of sales. So for me, that's where it comes down to. And if we're talking about like uptake of internet in New Zealand, we're a fully saturated market. So we've got approximately 91% of people have an internet connection, and those people that don't have one either can't because they're too young, or maybe they're a little bit too old or something like that. So it's a fully saturated market. Everyone that can be online is online, and then from there you can kind of extrapolate how many people are actually researching before they buy a product. So I think that's a critical piece to it.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Going alongside that, so if we think from all your answers, online marketing becomes a no-brainer, right? But where do you get started? It's a tricky one. From what I can see, and I'm not an expert in online marketing, but I see it could be really confusing. Nidhi, what would you recommend as to where to start with that?
I personally think in order to start with digital marketing, first and foremost thing is your website. Website is a must thing. You should have an updated website, with all the channels integrated into it. For example, your Facebook and Instagram and, all the social media channels, whatever you are on currently. And also, like, your website content should be up to date. And if you're an e-commerce store, all your product information, whether your products are on stock or not, everything, each and every information should be there. And like, to begin with marketing, of course, community management, like 80% people are right now surfing things on Facebook and Instagram network. So it's important to be there on these channels. And just to start with basic things, I would advise, it's very important to add metadata to your website. I'm just going a little technical here. Just go into the backend of the website. WordPress gives you a lot of tools in order to add the metadata in the website. Zest websites, it's easy to add metadata and keywords. It's important for you to have a website and ranking with those important keywords in organic search. And then analytics setup is a must. Like we have covered this thing in our previous webinar also, like having Google Analytics code installed on your website just to check the statistics and like just checking what's happening on your website, revenue side of the things, and traffic and bounce rate. It's important to just think over those metrics as well. So Google Analytics setup is a must. And Google My Business listing, which is like a basic thing which everybody should have.
Jara was waiting to hear the Google My Business answer, were you, Jara? Because I know we did a webinar on that just recently. Would either Jara or Lisa have anything else to add to that?
I just like one thing. I think I really agree with Nidhi of having a website first and foremost where you kind of control the narrative and you get the information about your products and services across is critical when starting with digital marketing. I would just go one step back further, and before you start anything at all, you want to make sure you've got really clear outcomes defined. Right, so it's what do I want to do in this space? What do I want to sell? How do I want to sell it? And getting those business objectives really clear as a first step potentially, and then stepping into the website and making sure that website reflects those objectives that you want and those key actions that you need to see out of it. What that does is it gives you a framework for approaching digital marketing that's results driven. Right, that's really focused on some outcomes that are going to have a meaningful impact on your business. And so I think it's really critical to get into that mindset right from the word go, that the website is a tool for achieving an outcome, and you need to define what those outcomes are, and then obviously measure them with analytics and things such as Nidhi had said. But if you haven't defined those clearly in advance, often you can find yourself drifting quite a lot through this process. And so that for me is probably where I'd say
it's worthwhile investing some time in just to sit down and define that, and getting some help to do that too.
Correct.
Perhaps as well. Lisa, will I get good business immediately if I use digital marketing?
It depends. So there's different ways you can go about this. If you're going to jump into AdWords, although it might not be immediate, it's going to be one that can drive traffic through to your website a lot sooner than something like search engine optimization will. But again, carrying on from what Jara was just saying, unless you've actually defined what you're trying to achieve and then utilizing digital marketing to achieve that, you won't really get anywhere. You just need that in place. You need a goal to hit or a result that you want to see. But yes, certain different ads will always get you traffic quickly, and then refinement of those ads from that will then start obviously just giving you the traffic that you're more likely wanting. But in terms of search engine optimization and even email marketing in some cases, they are the longer term plans that you'll be using to keep, I guess, traffic coming.
Thanks. What is the difference, and anyone can take this one, by the way, what is the difference or advantages of digital marketing compared to traditional approaches like TV, radio, print media, and the words of mouth?
I would like to answer that. I think the advantage of digital marketing over traditional marketing style is that digital can be transformational, especially when the right channels are employed. For example, SEO, like I was reading an article there, and like 90% of the digital experiences starts with the search. So it's kind of a big deal nowadays. And also with paid search, I mean, defining your ideal customer, you can use that platform, for example, Google AdWords, to display ads to your potential audience that feature your products. I mean, there are billions of searches every day happening on Google, and more than half of the population are on Facebook nowadays. So both statistics naturally mean that you can target people who would be interested in buying your product online. And by using digital channels, you can narrow down that search as much as possible on what we think is your ideal audience.
Thank you, Nidhi. Lisa, a question. My business is home-based. I make style jewelry and it is not registered yet, but I'm selling through Facebook and I'm getting good business already. Why would I need a website? It's a bit like we've already talked about, yeah, but do you have any other comments?
Look, it's basically great to see that you've actually already started in the digital space and it's going well for you, so why not expand? So, you know, if you want your business to grow, if you want to do better, one way to look at that is expanding, and a website is the next natural step really from that, I would say. You can obviously at the same time still continue to do your Facebook, you know, engaging with your community. But I guess, again, for a website, what's that going to do for you? It means once more orders are coming through, there's not as much admin. It's through the order management system in your website. You're not having to constantly be up to date posting because your products are situated on your website. So you can be referring people through to that. And again, it's just growing it really. Definitely, I'd say there.
Awesome, thank you. Jara, this one might be more in your field. Why should I spend money for a website developer company when I can get it free through Wix?
That's a great question. So in some cases, actually getting a free website through Wix is actually the right option, right? So everyone's got different requirements. And so one of the key things that you get when you work with a website development firm is you usually get a much more robust onboarding process and the support that you need to be able to actually populate and build the website so that it has what we call conversion pathways. And so these are pages and processes on the website designed with best practice in mind to get outcomes that meet your business requirements. So you can usually get a free website with Wix. Wix is considered to be a starter website. So often people start with something like that they can do themselves. They'll get so far along the process, and then they often have to rebuild that website when they want to add in additional functionality and expand the website experience for their customers. And so I'm not saying don't do the Wix side of things or don't do one of those free website builders that are there. You know, it might be right for you, but often that DIY experience is a little bit too hard. And it also will often mean that you're going to need to rebuild that onto a more advanced piece of technology with some support fairly quickly down the process if you start to go well. And so often taking a more professional approach to it up front actually does save you time and money in the long run.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got a few more questions in that kind of more online marketing, digital marketing section, but I think our time's going through, so we might just change gears a little bit and talk more about, you know, kind of get a bit more knowledgeable to kind of raise our questions up to the next kind of level, if you like. But please, if you've got questions, just pop them through on the Q&A section and we can take them as well. Lisa, if you could maybe go for this one, are Google and social media ads more effective than using / hiring social media influencers, bloggers, or vloggers?
You like to seem to give me the ones with the yes and no answers. So look, there's traditional means of digital marketing. So that's social, Google AdWords, SEO, search engine optimization. And then I guess what you'd maybe call more non-traditional, which is your influencers. So what is your business is where you need to look. Is it something that would be best promoted that way? Is it something that's best just do your Google AdWords, social media AdWords? So, you know, I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but you have to look at your business. What's the audience you're trying to target? How best to get that audience? Do you already have a relationship established with this influencer? You know, like, are they already, is it a brand that they are already, or well, I guess an industry that they're already in or they're already promoting? Is it going to help you in that way before you actually look at that path? You know, quite often, I guess people sometimes get used to influencers just doing advertising. You know, I sometimes get people just going, oh, I follow influencers, and some people just go, hey, could you tone it down on the ads? Because they're sick of sort of seeing some products as well. So I think there's a lot of thinking behind that before you make that decision. And I would not say that one's more effective than the other. It's completely down to your business and your product.
Thank you, Lisa. Jara, it's been over a month now since I've started spending a considerable amount of money on Google Ads. Why is it that I still do not see an increase in sales? I think this is a problem that some people feel, and they feel like they're wasting their money. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a really, really good question. And unfortunately, it's not completely uncommon, because when you're starting something out for the first time, you're not always going to get the results that you want or that you desire. And so it does require a kind of an iterative process. And so you need to really analyze what's happening with those ads, and more specifically, what's happening when people arrive on your website from those ads. Are they landing on the right page? Where are they getting stuck? And so what you want to start to look at is how are users flowing through the website and where they're stopping. All right, so are they adding a product to cart, but then arriving onto the checkout page and then all leaving at that point? And maybe you've got something like a really high delivery price that hasn't been disclosed up front, and it's creating some shock in the cart, and therefore people are leaving. So what's really critical here is that you've set up some really good analytics so you can understand what's happening from the traffic that you're buying, and then really look to see where are the drop-offs and where are what we call the persuasion or conversion blockers, and removing those. And that's why it's really important to have strong analytics set up with conversion goals, so you can measure what the performance of that campaign and see where the blockage is. So that's one critical part. The other part is that you may be actually targeting the wrong people. All right, so you've got to look at both of those things in conjunction. Am I targeting the right people? Am I maybe being too broad, or am I being too niche with my targeting initially? And but the chances are, if they're clicking on your ads and going through to your website, you're generally finding somebody that's got intent to buy your product. And so if that's the case, then you need to look at where those blockers potentially are and try to remove those or improve your offer.
Thank you, Jara. Nidhi, this question, I've actually been in a meeting with you and you've had this question. And so I think you'll just be able to answer this one. Why can't I find my Google ad campaign when I search for a keyword? So I have to type the entire sequence of my ad correctly before it appears on the search results.
I think when you don't able to see your ads, there can be multiple factors. I mean, what is causing the actual problem? I mean, first, I think you need to check your billing details, whether everything is going fine there or not. I mean, you can just go to the settings and check the billings and see if your credit card is working there or not. Sometimes this happens, and Google also shows you a red message on the top that your billing setup is not accurate, or it's not working. Or maybe the second probability could be maybe your bids are too low. You're not bidding according to the cost per click limit set by Google. Or just check on your budgets or media spends, or maybe this CPC cost per clicks on each and every keyword. And sometimes the major reason of this issue is the keyword list. So if you're not like Jara has already said this, like if you're not targeting the right keywords and targeted keywords, then Google doesn't show your ads, just because there is no relevancy between your ad, your website, and those keywords. So it's important to just check in the backend whether all your keywords are eligible or not. Maybe your keywords are disapproved or maybe removed by Google due to some policies or issues. So it's important to check all those aspects.
Thank you, Nidhi. Another question here. I'm planning to start advertising on Google Ads. How much should I spend on my campaigns?
This is the most common question. Everybody asks
really?
this. So I always suggest my clients to use keyword planner in the settings of Google. I mean, if you can just shortlist the top 10 keywords which you really want to target, which are very much associated with all your services and products, just shortlist top 10 keywords and then add them to the keyword planner. And what Google does there is it gives you a forecast kind of a thing. You actually can see what can be a cost per click for a particular keyword, and then you really need to do a little bit of maths there and just see, like, for example, cost per click for a particular keyword is $1, and you really want 100 clicks on it, and you have a list of 10 keywords there, so you should have a media budget of almost $1,000 a month. I mean, it again depends how many clicks you are anticipating from your campaign. So just do a little maths there and then just decide on your media budget.
Thank you, Nidhi. Maybe I'll open this up to the panel. So my website's been live for a month and I do not see it anywhere coming up in any searches. Anybody want to take that one?
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're all delayed, and then we all jumped in at the same time. I'll just quickly, like, a new website does sometimes take a little while for Google to index, and so there's always a lag when a new website goes live as to when Google's robots will come through, crawl the site and index it, and then start to show it in search results. But that's just the start. It's not going to show on the first page or at the top of the search when Google first indexes it. So there's a process that you need to go through to get your website ranking, and so it's perfectly normal. There are a bunch of things you can do to speed that up, like submitting your sitemap, submitting your URL to Google through Search Console and processes like this. But yeah, there's the process you need to go to get it appearing. So,
any other tips, guys?
I was going to say, if you're sort of heading more towards maybe 3 months, you know, you really should be looking at the website or contacting your provider. There might be some things they need to check that are definitely on the website and enable. I know previously, just talking with clients and past experiences, sometimes it's actually been disallowed to be showing on a search, and that's just because of the way they've done it to set up the website in the first place, and it's not been removed once it has gone live. So just to be aware of those. I mean, again, most people do it properly every time, but yeah, if you're heading towards the 3-month mark, I would start definitely sort of talking to your company and be working out if there's something else going on, or again, it might just be that you're not actually doing any search engine optimization at all.
Yeah, and I think sometimes what we don't do is we don't focus on SEO side of the things, and we don't provide enough information to Google, because Google is a robot. You need to actually feed a lot of information about your website to the robot. So updating the metadata and creating Google My Business listing, because it's a Google's product, and if you are working on your listing as well, so you're giving enough information to Google to recognize your website.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think there's just one. That's perfect. I just think there's one thing I just wanted to mention. If your website's not showing, then you probably want to do one simple test, and that's do a search on your own name first, because you should appear very quickly with your website on your own name, and that will be a test to see whether or not Google is indexing your site at all. Right? If it doesn't appear on your name, there's probably a technical problem. If it's not appearing on what we call a non-brand search, like what you do, those sort of keywords, then that may be something you just need to go through a process with SEO. But there's a really clear way to determine whether it's a technical problem or just a kind of a marketing problem, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I'm just going to add in a question of my own here, just because I think it's what we've just been talking about is related to it a little bit. And we often hear people saying that they don't want to go live with their website because they've just got a few more products they just want to load, or they want to get this other section right. What would be your recommendation with that?
If you don't currently have a website, my recommendation is to go live with your site as soon as possible. Google favors people who constantly are making updates and changes, adding new products, doing blogs on a website. So it will actually help you in your rankings. If you do actually already have a website already and you're more maybe upgrading, redesigning it, I think it's a conversation you'll need to have with your website developer around what that looks like. Again, it's always better to, I guess, if it's a whole rebranding, launch earlier rather than later. A website project is never a one-off, it is an ongoing process. So that's just a good thing to keep in mind.
Any other tips from the panel?
I couldn't agree more. Just get it live as soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as you've got something better than what you have now is the general rule of thumb. So if you have no website and what you've got is a one with half your products on, that's way better than what you've got now. So that's the decision-making process for me. As soon as you've got something better than what you have currently.
Great, thank you. Another question is, do websites need maintenance?
Yeah, all websites need maintenance. Just how much depends, I guess, on what platform you're on, what functionality you have. So, you know, if you have a pretty straightforward website and you're on a platform that sort of does its own updates, like for Zest, our base platform with the main functionalities that we have in our websites, our updates that we do to that are rolled out across the entire base website platform. So your updates and maintenance are done that way. However, if you had a complete separate feature that was built specifically for your business, that's when you'd need to look more at the maintenance of that. Other platforms though, I mean, WordPress is just a good example. Maintenance and security are a huge area that you do need to be on top of. So maintenance in terms of updating your plugins, also security for updating your plugins, because often when an update for a plugin happens, is released, it's due to some security reasoning, and you don't want anyone being able to get in there and hack your website. And the reason that's in there is because it's an open source platform. So yeah, there's always going to be some level of maintenance. What that looks like really does depend on your platform and your functionality.
Great, thank you. One last question for today, and I think we'll open it up to the whole panel, just because you might have different knowledge or ideas around this, but what sort of transaction fees should I be paying with an e-commerce site? Jara, we'll start with you.
Okay, cool.
Hesitancy.
No, that's all right. I just didn't want to talk over anyone. So there's generally two parts to transaction fees, all right, when it comes to processing payments on a website. And so some platforms will combine those into one fee, but you need to be aware that there's two components to this in general. One is what the platform charges for the processing of the platform, or the payment gateway charges for the processing of the payment. And the second is where do the credit card fees get charged, because the credit card companies will always charge a fee. It'll be there somewhere, all right? And you just need to make sure that that's in your calculations as well. How it generally works, if you've got a website where you're using a direct payment system provider, like WinCave, for example, which was formerly Payment Express, there will be a flat fee for them to process the transaction, and then you will pay a credit card fee, which is a percentage of that transaction, and that will be arranged directly with your bank. Right, that's if the payment goes through the website and lands in your bank, that'll be the process, and there'll be those two fees. If you use something like Shopify, then all of those are combined into a single percentage of transaction, and that includes the credit card processing and also the transaction fee. And so it's really important to look through that process and understand that there are those two components, and make sure that you're aware of what they both look like. Otherwise, you might be surprised with some credit card fees there at the end when the final payment comes through into your bank. And if your margins are really tight, like, that could be a real problem. So
I think just, yeah, moving on from that, there's also ways that you don't have to pay fees as well. So a more manual process though, so you can just have your bank account number there on the website and expect that the customer manually will go into their bank account and transfer the money. But it is more manual, there's more chance that they might not, and therefore the order is lost. And also on your end, there is more of an admin process of course, checking that the payment's been received and then actually delivering what the person has purchased. So, you know, there are ways that you can not pay fees, but it is still to be aware that it often comes with more admin processes and reliancy on people to do a task.
I think the one bit I didn't mention really is that sometimes the success fee on the platform, yeah, there's a success fee that's very common as well. So and the success fee is sometimes even higher if you're using a payment gateway like a part pay system or something like that. They can be slightly higher again, but then they take a finance risk with the person buying the product, talking about a lay-by or an after-pay system or something like that. So those are options too, and they'll generally attract the highest transaction fee. But what you should be looking is somewhere in the 3 to 5% range is what you will end up paying, including credit for card fees and including success fees. Anything over 5, I'd be seriously looking at it. But if the fees is, you know, when you combine credit card and success fees is somewhere in that 3 to 5 range, I think that's generally pretty normal.
Thank you. Just before we leave the question segment, I just wanted to go around and see if you could give us your top tip. Given the circumstances we're in, we're in level 2, we're about to hit level 1. I think it's looking like level 1's on the cards for next week. And given the business environment and your skills and knowledge, what would be your top tip that you could share today? Lisa, could we start with you?
For me, I guess it's more just start small. So get a plan in place first and then start having little to-dos based off of that if you're doing it all yourself. So, you know, first tick might be getting a website, then the next tick might be learning a bit more about marketing, or, you know, we're going to engage someone. So, if, you know, don't feel you have to do it all yourself. You know, at Zeald, we have strategy sessions you can have with a digital business strategist to work out what that looks like. But, you know, just don't try and overwhelm yourself by doing too much all at once.
Thank you, Lisa. Nadine.
Yes, I would really want to advise that sometimes we really underestimate the power of SEO and how important it is, search engine optimization. So I have actually shortlisted these two tools, which is SEMrush and WooRank, which are quite good in order to do a SEO audit of your website, just to basically do a health check of your website. It gives you a list of the glitches, whatever is happening in your website, if something has gone wrong or some pages are not updated. So it gives you a very comprehensive, detailed kind of a report which you should be doing for your website in order to check its health, especially in terms of SEO.
Awesome. Thank
Cool.
you, Nadine. Jara.
Cool. So for me, it comes down to results and transparency. So if you are embarking on getting online and running a digital program, you need to really make sure you've nailed down what your objectives are and then really carefully measure against those objectives. They may be your online sales, they may be people even just looking at your contact us page to get your address or contact details. That may be the outcome. But the key here is it doesn't matter how many people arrive on your website, it's about how many people do something after arriving on your website or interacting with you online. And so it's really changing the focus from I just want to get as many people looking at what I do to I want to get as many people as I can doing something or taking an action that has a real significant benefit to your business. And so for me, that's the mindset that you take in. And so that's my tip, is that every decision you make online, whether it's picking a social media platform, running a campaign, or running like Google AdWords, or even just setting up your website in the first instance, it's got to be based around what is that result that I need for my business, and be really like not ruthless on it, but just be so mindful of that with every decision you make, because that's what's going to get you an outcome that's going to improve your revenue and improve the performance of your business. And after all, that's what we're here to do, right?
Thank you. Really appreciate your time. I'm just going to wrap up a little bit. Can you see my screen share, everybody?
Can.
Pretty sure I've got it working this time. COVID-19 has started becoming less prominent in the news over the last couple of days and focuses more towards what is recovery and survival looking like. We know that things are not going back to normal at the end of COVID-19. We are going to have to change how we do business to survive. There is an opportunity out there though. In a lot of cases, introducing digital tools will actually improve productivity and could well be critical to business survival. It's our prediction that you need to work extra hard at being found online, and doing this will be critical to your business survival. My recommendation today is to get in the game. You can't compete unless you're in the game. Zeald has developed over 15,000 businesses websites and helped them transform digitally over the last 20 years. We provide a free strategy and website audit session with our team of experienced digital business strategists, and I encourage you to get in touch. They can be a great support and give you direction on all these things that we've been talking about today. Zeald launched our Get e-commerce movement. We are helping Kiwi businesses launch e-commerce sites for free to try and help them through COVID and to get online as soon as possible and to start helping businesses survive. You can go to our website, zeald.com, for more details on that. We'll be sending out an email asking for your feedback later on today. Please let us know your feedback for this webinar and give us any suggestions for upcoming topics that might be useful. Our next webinar is on the 10th of June at 2 p.m. It is about marketing automation for e-commerce. Learn how to use marketing automation to close more new customers and clients, prevent customer churn, and speed up dozens of other business prospecting and marketing tasks. A special thanks today to our panelists, Jara, Nidhi, and Lisa. We appreciate your valuable insights. And that is all we have time for today. If you have missed the webinar or want to catch up on some of it or share it, it will be put up on our website and also on our YouTube channel later on today. In the meantime, take care.
Awesome. Thanks, Rhonda.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.